My name is Simon, and I'm 38 years old. I live in a quiet neighborhood in the suburbs with my wife, Emily. Every year, I look forward to Halloween. There's something fun about handing out candy, seeing the kids all dressed up, their faces lighting up when they get their favorite treats. But this Halloween was different. It was the night I lost Emily. The night started off like any other Halloween. We had the porch decorated with pumpkins, spider webs, and a couple of spooky lights. Emily and I took turns handing out candy, chatting with the neighbors who passed by with their kids. Everything was normal at first. We were laughing, joking about how much candy we'd have left over by the end of the night. But then, around 8 p.m., I noticed something strange. One of the kids came to our door dressed as a clown. Typical Halloween costume. Nothing weird about it at first. He must have been around 10 or 11 years old, I thought. He didn't say much, just held out his bag for candy, and I dropped a piece in. He stared at me for a second longer than most kids would, but I didn't think much of it. Halloween is full of creepy costumes, after all. But then he came back. And again, and again. By the fourth time, I recognized him immediately. Same clown costume, same strange silence. "Hey, haven't I seen you before?" I asked, half joking, but there was no response. He just held out the bag again. This time, I dropped in a smaller piece of candy, hoping he'd take the hint. When he showed up for the fifth time, I was done. I told him, "No more, kid. You've had enough." That's when something changed. He didn't move, didn't say anything. He just stood there, staring at me with those wide, painted clown eyes. And then, slowly, he turned and walked away, but not before giving me this glare, a look that sent chills down my spine. There was something so wrong about it. I shook it off, telling myself it was just a kid being weird. Emily laughed it off, saying I was overreacting. "It's Halloween, Simon. Kids can be a little creepy sometimes," she said with a smile. "It's all part of the fun." But something didn't feel right. I couldn't shake that uneasy feeling in my gut. Later that night, around 10 p.m., the trick-or-treaters had slowed down, and Emily said she was going to step outside for a moment to check the decorations. "I'll be right back," she said. I stayed inside, cleaning up the candy wrappers, assuming she'd be back in a minute. The air outside had gotten colder, and I figured she wouldn't be out there for long. But she didn't come back. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I called out for her, but there was no answer. I went outside, thinking maybe she'd gone to chat with one of the neighbors, but the street was empty. No sign of her. My heart started pounding in my chest. I called her phone, but there was no answer. I ran up and down the street, knocking on doors, asking if anyone had seen her, but no one had. Panic started to set in. Where could she have gone? She wouldn't just leave without saying something. The uneasy feeling from earlier came back, stronger this time. My mind kept racing with possibilities, but I tried to push them away. Emily was smart. She wouldn't go far without telling me. By midnight, I was frantic. I called the police, telling them Emily was missing. They searched the neighborhood, but there was no trace of her. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept going back to the clown kid. That creepy look he gave me. But it didn't make sense. It was just a kid, right? The next morning, the police came back. They'd found her. Emily's body was discovered in the woods, not far from our neighborhood. She had been murdered. They found a discarded clown costume nearby, the same one I had seen the kid wearing. But the police told me something that sent a chill down my spine. The killer wasn't a kid at all. He was a man, a known serial killer who had been using Halloween as cover, dressing up like a trick-or-treater to blend in and target people. I had come face to face with the man who killed my wife, and I did nothing. The guilt crushed me. If I hadn't brushed off that feeling, if I had been more aware, maybe I could have stopped him. I keep replaying that moment in my head, the way he looked at me, the way he silently asked for more candy. It wasn't a harmless prank. It was a predator stalking his next victim. Now, every Halloween, I can't look at kids in costumes without feeling a sense of dread. I see clowns and my stomach turns. I'll never hand out candy again. I'll never forget the look in his eyes, and I'll never forgive myself for not seeing the danger that was right in front of me. What haunts me the most is knowing that I could have done something, but I didn't, and now Emily's gone forever. My name is Claire. I'm 23 years old, and I live in a small town just outside of Chicago. This year, my friends and I decided to do a Halloween bar crawl. We'd been planning it for weeks. Costumes, drinks, and lots of laughs. The night started off fun, with us hopping between bars, taking pictures, and enjoying the whole Halloween vibe. But things took a weird turn when one of my friends, Jenny, dared me to do something I'd regret. We were standing outside our last stop for the night when she pointed to the old abandoned house at the corner of Madison and 5th. Everyone in town knew about it. The creepy old place where a family had mysteriously died years ago. The house had been empty ever since. The story was that no one could sell it because strange things kept happening to anyone who tried to live there. But it was just a story, right? "Come on, Claire," Jenny teased. "I dare you to go inside for 10 minutes. Alone." I laughed it off at first, but with everyone egging me on, I finally agreed. "Fine," I said. 10 minutes. Armed with nothing but my phone flashlight, I made my way to the house. The front door creaked open as soon as I touched it, like it had been waiting for me. The air inside was cold and musty, the smell of something long forgotten. My flashlight flickered as I stepped into the hallway, illuminating peeling wallpaper and dusty furniture. At first, nothing happened. It was just an old, creepy house. But as I moved deeper inside, I started to notice things. Pictures on the walls, old family portraits, but the faces had been scratched out, leaving only blank, eerie outlines. I felt a chill run down my spine. I tried to stay calm, reminding myself it was just a stupid dare. But then I heard something. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming from upstairs. My heart raced, but I convinced myself it was just my friends trying to scare me. "Nice try, guys," I shouted, but no one responded. The footsteps didn't stop. In fact, they were getting closer. Determined to prove it was a prank, I headed upstairs. The old wooden steps creaked under my weight, and the air felt thicker, heavier. As I reached the top, I saw an open door at the end of the hall. My phone flashlight barely cut through the darkness, but I could make out the shape of something lying on the floor. My stomach dropped. I walked closer, heart pounding in my chest, until the light finally revealed what was there. It was a body. A girl, lying face down, her clothes covered in dirt and grime. And then I saw her face. She looked exactly like me. I stumbled back, nearly dropping my phone. My mind was racing. This can't be real, I thought. But the girl on the floor, she was real. Her skin was pale, her body still. The room felt like it was closing in on me, the air suffocating. I turned and bolted down the stairs, tripping over my own feet as I rushed for the front door. I burst outside, gasping for breath, and ran straight to my friends, who were still standing outside, laughing and joking like nothing had happened. I could barely speak. You didn't come inside," I stammered. They all looked confused. "No, we've been out here the whole time," Jenny said, her smile fading when she saw the look on my face. I told them what I'd seen, but they didn't believe me. They thought I was just trying to mess with them. But I knew what I saw. We called the police. When they arrived, they searched the house. At first, they didn't find anything, and I started to question if I had imagined it all. But then, in that same room, they found a body. The girl I saw. The police later identified her as a missing person from 20 years ago, a girl who had disappeared on Halloween night. She had been stalked and murdered, though they never found out who did it. The strangest part was the resemblance. The police even pointed it out, how much she looked like me. The whole thing left me shaken. I couldn't stop thinking about the body, the footsteps, and that face. It was as if I had stepped into someone else's nightmare, one that had been waiting for me for years. Now, I can't help but wonder, was it a coincidence, or was I next? Every Halloween since, I feel like I'm being watched, like something is still out there, waiting for the right moment. I escaped that night, but I don't know if I'll be so lucky next time. My name is Olivia, and I'm 25 years old, living in a small town just outside Denver, Colorado. This Halloween was supposed to be quiet, just me at home, handing out candy and watching some scary movies. I'm not really into big parties, and besides, the weather was cold, and staying home seemed like the best idea. I had no clue that this night would be far from quiet and would turn into the most terrifying night of my life. The first part of the night was normal. Kids came by in their costumes, and I handed out candy, smiling at their excitement. By 10:30 p.m., the doorbell stopped ringing, and the neighborhood fell silent. I made myself some popcorn, settled on the couch, and started watching one of those classic horror movies. I didn't feel scared, just relaxed. It was peaceful, until my phone rang. I looked at the clock. It was almost midnight. A blocked number showed up on my screen. At first, I hesitated to answer, but then curiosity got the best of me. I picked up the call. At first, there was silence on the other end. Then I heard it, heavy breathing. My heart raced a little, but I tried to brush it off as a prank. After all, it was Halloween. Some kid must be trying to scare people. I hung up and went back to my movie, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that crept over me. 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. Blocked number. I didn't want to answer, but I did. The same breathing, but this time, a deep voice spoke. Nice house. Red front door. Couch by the window. I froze. They were describing my house. Exactly. I stood up from the couch and pulled the curtain back slightly, looking out into the night. I couldn't see anyone. My street was empty. I hung up, now feeling completely unsettled. I checked the locks on the front and back doors, making sure they were secure. My heart was beating faster, and I could feel panic setting in. It had to be a joke, right? Some kid trying to be creepy. The phone rang again. I answered, my voice shaky. Who is this? The voice laughed softly. I can see you, Olivia. I dropped the phone, my hands trembling. How did they know my name? I turned off all the lights in the house and grabbed my phone again, dialing 911. The operator's voice was calm, asking for details. I told her about the calls, the description of my house, how they knew my name. She told me a patrol car would be sent, but it was probably a Halloween prank. Prank or not, I felt unsafe. I locked myself in my bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the phone, waiting for it to ring again. Minutes passed, and then it rang. This time, I let it go to voicemail. A notification popped up, and I played the message, my hands shaking. I'm inside. I could barely breathe. My stomach turned. I felt like I was going to throw up. I immediately grabbed my phone and hid in the closet, locking myself in. I could hear faint creaking sounds coming from downstairs. Footsteps. My mind raced, trying to figure out if I had left a window open or if someone had already broken in without me realizing. I held my breath, trying not to make a sound, praying that the police would get here soon. The footsteps grew louder, moving through the house, closer to where I was hiding. Then, everything went silent again. I heard the sirens in the distance, and the relief was overwhelming. But I stayed hidden until I heard the police knocking at my front door, calling my name. When they searched the house, they found the back door had been forced open. There were muddy footprints leading through the kitchen and into the living room, but no one was there. Whoever had been in my house was gone, vanishing into the night just before the police arrived. I was shaken to my core. The police assured me they'd keep patrolling the area, but that didn't make me feel any better. Whoever had been inside my house was still out there, watching me, knowing every detail about my life. The worst part is that I never saw their face, but they clearly saw mine. I haven't slept properly since. Every creak of the house makes me jump. And every Halloween, I can't help but wonder if that person is out there, waiting for the right moment to come back.